Raptors today. I'm Savanna Hamilton alongside Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton. Now the Raptors lost to the Miami Heat last night, 102-111. Let's look at the numbers because it really was a tale of two halves. The first half was dramatically different than the second half. Now, credit the Heat's defense because they did show up. But what was the most noticeable for you, Jonesy, in the offense when they slowed down the Raptors in the second half?
Well, it was the fourth quarter, basically, for me, Savannah. The Raptors, their offense totally stalled. And I'll give Miami credit. We knew that Eric Spoelstra was going to play that zone. He sprinkled it in early. I can think back to games last year where the Raptors, scoring 85 points, having a difficult time against the zone from Miami. So we kind of knew it was coming. But in that fourth quarter, they hold Toronto to 6 of 21. And, the Raptors barely score 20 points. They go 6 minutes and 8 seconds without a bucket. And that's Miami's zone. And they did a good job of containing the Raptors, keeping them on the perimeter, containing them. When the Raptors were able to break into the middle of the zone and swing the ball and get open shots, at times they weren't able to make them. And, good shooting is contagious. So is bad shooting. You've missed 3-4 in a row. The next guy gets a shot and he knows he's got to make it because they haven't made a shot in a while. So there's the psychological part of it too. I thought they did some nice things in attacking the zone. They needed to be a little bit more consistent and they've got to make shots. And then what's not being said is your defense is as much as part of your offense as putting the ball in the basket. So you stay in games by keeping the other team off the score sheet. So those are some things I really look for to change the next time these two teams play. And Miami basically won that game. They pulled away in the fourth quarter.
That's a great note that it is psychological sometimes. And if you look at the last 7 games that the Raptors have played, they've really found their stride. If you take a look at the board here, the previous 6 games, they've been scoring on average about 117 points. Last night was 102. Bench points, 47. Last night, 31. So Sherm, what stands out most to you that can be adjusted for Friday? Because we have the luxury of playing them again.
Well, I think when you look at that board, there's a lot of offensive stats on there, which is a great thing to see that they shot the ball better. They were able to attack the paint and score in there as well. But what you don't see is the defense. And a lot of times we get enamored with the offensive numbers when we talk about improvements. But really, we all know that if you're going to have sustainable success, you've got to be able to defend consistently. Got to be your calling card. And I think the Raptors, even in that game against Miami, I thought their defense let them down on a few occasions. Now, offensively, going into that game against Miami, they were getting contributions from many different areas of the roster. Guys off the bench were doing well. The starters had their moments. It was a complete team effort. What we saw against Miami was a struggle to score, and I really thought they became complacent in terms of attacking that zone. They weren't able to find the gaps. They weren't able to get into the gut of the defense. They had to stay on the perimeter. And when you're on the perimeter of a zone, you're settling for shots. The zone has great defensive rebounding position, and you're not really making that zone have to shift and move and create any type of rotation. The other thing of that is if you're going to be offensively, I think, in a position where you're not making shots, you better get stops. And the Raptors tried some zone, and it didn't work. I thought Miami grinded it down to late in the shot clock and got the looks they wanted. So both sides of the basketball have to be cleaned up. But again, getting to see them again is probably refreshing in a couple of days for the Raptors.
Now, you touched on the offensive struggles, and that is exactly what Coach Nick Nurse addressed today at practice.
I'm pretty happy with the way the offense is moving. Right? I think it's been hard to guard. I think there's been we're continuing to improve it. I think our spacing, cutting, that kind of thing is been very good this year. Creating a lot of the shots that we want. There's been some stretches where maybe we're not getting the paint enough, or getting to the rim enough, or getting to the foul line enough, or stretches where we miss shots. Or, I think in any season there's, it has maybe not been it grinds a little bit, right? But again, it's you got to be able to play through those moments as well. I don't know. I just think that we got to, pace is important. The speed of our cuts is important. Getting off the ball early is important. Cutting and relocating, all the things that we talk about. I think a couple things probably stand out is our finishing at the rim. I think we're leaving a lot of points on the table at the rim. When we've cracked all the way through right to the front of the rim, and for some reason, ball hasn't been going in enough. That's one thing I would say would keep us ticking over a little bit more. Usually is the case. It felt a lot worse during the game than it looked on the film. There was a ton of, well, not a ton, but there was a good number of good reads to wide open threes. There were a number of missed reads where we got the ball into the paint where we needed it to, and there was guys sitting on the weak side wide open, and we didn't see them, or we didn't see them soon enough. There was a little bit of a, instead of a, bang, bang passing, it was kind of bang, hold, pass. They would recover. But, and there was a few missed spacing things as well too that we got to clean up. But I mean, it wasn't as bad as it felt. We did have some tough shots. I think we do need to get it up the floor and get into the paint a little bit more against it as well. But we need to get that thing popping and make the right reads.
Well, it seems like the ball is getting a little bit too stagnant when a team goes on zone. So I think it's, get the ball moving, trying to attack the zone quick. I think we're waiting too much time before we attack it. So I would say get the ball moving, and we always got to get somebody in the middle. We somehow just stay in the perimeter, and then everybody's stagnant, everybody stays home. So we just got to figure out a way to get open and, like I said, find somebody in the dunker and just get the ball moving side to side. Usually that's how you get the zone to shift a little bit. So, we worked on that a lot today, and we're going to figure out a way to, attack the zone, because most games when the team goes on zone, that's when we struggle. So try to figure that out.
And they will figure that out against the Heat on Friday. That's right. We said it before. It's a back-to-back game in Tampa, Friday, 7:30. Watch the game on TSN or hear it on Sportsnet Fan 590. Pre-game show is, of course, on NBA TV Canada. Now, guys, the Heat were down a few bodies, but these three had an incredible game in the front court. Look at the impact. It's incredible. Kelly Olynyk, fellow Canadian, putting some work there. But you know what? We have to look at what the Raptors can do, Jonesy, to improve their effort on Friday. What can they do differently?
Well, it starts with knowing your personnel, Savannah. We talk about it. I mean, you talk about Duncan Robinson. He's a guy that is a shooter. He's not going to force him to put the ball on the floor, get up on him, make his catches difficult, make him catch a little further from the basket, crowd him, play good defense without fouling, make him put it on the floor, see if he can beat you all the way to the basket, and, keep him in front of you when he does put it down. Kelly Olynyk, very crafty player, very good. But again, if you can contain him, stay in front of him, when he puts it on the floor, cut him off, force him to pick it up, you're not helping. It's the penetration that breaks you down. And, I thought the Raptors gave up a lot of that. They early on, they let Duncan Robinson roam free. And, this as a player. You're playing a guy and he's a shooter and you want to be close, but you don't want to foul. Well, you better get a little bit closer than you think, because that guy knows that you're going to play him like that. His mindset is be ready to shoot, be ready to catch and squeeze. So I think the Raptors have to put a little bit more effort in there and just do a better job of trying to contain those guys and force them away from their strengths more than anything else.
And somebody who they also have to consider containing is Kendrick Nunn, who dropped 28 points on the Raptors last night, but that's his season high. So, I mean, that was more or less unexpected. However, we do have to key in on him. So, Sherm, how do the Raptors exactly focus their energy and attention on defending him?
Well, one thing about Kendrick Nunn is that when you look at his stats, they were great, 9 of 12 or 4 of 6 from the three-point line. But his impact was from different areas of the floor. I mean, he had 5 assists in this game. He had some rebounds. He did a good job shooting it from 3. He attacked off the dribble. So you're going to have to stay connected to him, engaged in him, and you're going to have to pay more attention when he has the ball in his hands and maybe taking out of the rolling situations that he has. This is a guy who You know, when you're talking about a guy who earns his way into the NBA, we've seen multiple guys on the Raptors with that same story as Kendrick Nunn. And Miami does a great job as an organization, just like the Raptors do, in terms of finding those talented guys that are undrafted or late in the second round, and they turn them into players and help them become valuable NBA players. So Kendrick Nunn is the same guy, but you got to get to him early. You got to make sure that he doesn't have all the airspace to get those shots off. And while you're doing that, you can't forget about the guys that you and Jonesy were just talking about. I mean, there's a lot of weapons, even without some key guys on this roster. So it's a handful. They're tough. And to me, Miami's one of the toughest tough guys. They're the group that they'll fight and they'll stay in the fight, but they can also take hits. And when they won't go down, you better be just as tough. And the Raptors have to answer that call in terms of the toughness factor in that game on Friday.
Now we got to shift our focus to more Raptors. And we got to acknowledge OG Anunoby, because he's been silently stepping up. Is what I told Pat and Jake LaRue behind the scenes today, that he's had a quiet, past 5 games where he's really stepped up big for the Raptors. 16 points, shooting 50% from the field. So Jonesy, what have you seen from him lately that has got him to this point of consistency?
Well, I've seen a quiet assertiveness and an aggressiveness from OG. He's become more ready on the offensive end. He started off coming into this league as just a catch and shoot guy in the corner. He's worked on his game. I mean, there were a couple of instances where I saw him in the middle of the zone late in the game when the ball was moved to him, it was swung and then punched inside, and he gets it at the free throw line and he ends up with a dunk down there. You can see when he runs the floor in transition, he's more cognizant of being ready to catch and shoot, or because he can catch and shoot and knock down threes, when the ball's swung to him or he catches it on the break, there's a bad closeout, he's driving and looking to make another play. So I'm seeing more aggressiveness from OG, and I'm also seeing a calmness in his game, not panicking, not rushing. At the beginning of last year, when he knew there was going to be more expected of him, you could see him catch the ball. And the old adage by John Wooden, be quick, but don't hurry. We would see him trying to do things quickly and rushing through, and it might turn into a turnover or a bad pass. I see a much calmer, the classic adage of the game is slowing down for OG, and I see a much more controlled yet aggressive player.
Now we got to talk about Pascal Siakam, because his past 4 games, we've seen a bit of a dip in comparison to his past 5. Sherm, how can he get back to his form that we've seen him before against Miami for this Friday?
Well, number one for Pascal, he's got to understand that he's got to utilize his strengths, and that's his quickness, his ability to run the floor. When Pascal makes quick, decisive moves, especially in the half court, he has an advantage. If he's trying to back people down and if he's trying to take his time and slow grind people, that's not where Pascal really has success. I mean, you look at Miami, they're all physical players, so you're going to have to really grind it out from a physical perspective. For Pascal, he's in a place where a lot of players don't want to be. You know you can play, you can have success, but things aren't coming together. And Pascal looks a bit disheveled out there sometimes. But there's no question that he has to step his game up. I mean, he's a leader on this team, and he has the ability to do it. We've seen him do it many, many times before. And I think Pascal, in some ways, has to get out of his head and just play the game. Just stop thinking about things too much. Be aggressive, get to the basket, get to the free throw line. But if he wants to take that next step as a leader, this is where the great ones become great. They might not be able to score, but they'll find ways to help the team. He can rebound, he can defend, he can have hustle plays. All of those elements help his team win beyond the stat sheet in terms of scoring. So he's got to figure out those ways when the offense isn't clicking to still be a leader and make plays to help his team win.
Jonesy, I'll catch up with you guys in just a moment. We got to go to a previous discussion we had on RTX. Today on RTX, I got Katie Heindl, co-host from the Dishes and Dimes podcast, and new to RTX is Ashley Docking, Toronto-based broadcaster. So nice to have you, Ashley.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
That's awesome. Okay, let's get to it then. So Fred VanVleet shared some words on his feelings of the inauguration yesterday that Josh Lewenberg tweeted out, saying, while we are happy to get the other guy out of there, we've still got a lot of work to do. Whoever it is, whatever politicians are in those positions have to do more than they've been doing. hopefully we can go in a better direction. Now, ladies, yesterday we witnessed history, and we saw Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get sworn in. But to you personally, how does it feel to see a woman get sworn in as vice president, let alone her being a woman of color, being Black and South Asian? Ashley, what do you think?
Well, I think everyone kind of felt a sense of relief a little bit. Also a sense of pride as a woman myself to just see the steps and strides that the United States have taken. Obviously, there are women in positions of power all across the world, but this is a first for America, for the United States. So it was really nice knowing that young women across North America will be able to see what they maybe want to become, because I think we all know, being in a male-dominated space, it's tough to chase a dream when you don't see yourself represented. And so that representation is super important. But of course, as Fred mentioned, this is not necessarily a fix per se, unless action happens now that things are in order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to help on what Ashley said, like, it's historic. It is completely historic. And I agree with just the optics and the visibility of someone like Kamala Harris in power. More than that, like, she is a very strong figure, a strong and powerful figure to be leading. And I think just like such a different kind of example than, what we've seen in the White House for the past 4 years. And as much as it's American politics, it does trickle down globally and worldwide. So I think with just how divisive things have started to feel, it's definitely what was needed. But I do agree with Fred. There's obviously more work to be done.
And I want to give a shout out to Amanda Gorman, who is 22 years old and read such a beautiful poem during the inauguration called "The Hill We Climb." And, personally, as for myself, a Black woman, it's so, it's almost tear-jerking. I was getting teary-eyed yesterday, to be honest, to see Kamala Harris step into a position like the vice presidency of the United States. It's something that we don't see every single day. And I can only imagine, like, little girls around North America, and they're seeing Kamala Harris get sworn in, and you know what they're thinking? They're thinking nothing of it. They're thinking that's now normal. Yeah, we have a Black woman, a South Asian woman, as the vice president of America. How beautiful that! I just think that's really beautiful.
It was emotional.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
So we got to switch gears. This is going to be a bit of a hard turn. We got to talk Raptors now.
Just everyone bobsled to the left.
All right. So we'd all heard the news. Alex Lang got waived earlier this week, and Nick Nurse did say that he would like to see a 3-4-5 player fill that spot. He used the term bigger-ish in that position. Now, what type of player, Katie, I'll start with you, would you like to see fill that role?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Nurse, but on the higher end of the spectrum. I really think the Raptors are kind of, there's a little bit of a size deficit on the team. I don't think that's like a shocking thing to say. So when he says 3-4-5, I'm a hard lean toward 5. But I also think there's plenty of room for versatility. So I kind of look around the league, I think of like a Bam Adebayo type player who has the versatility and the opportunity to kind of like level up. He's not just a big man. There's a lot to him. There's a lot of playmaking ability and things like that. But he'll get you the rebounds. And right now, I think that's like a pretty sizable thing that the Raptors are lacking.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that versatility is key, and also just basketball smarts. Like, dumb guys don't get in Nick Nurse's rotation. That's just a fact. He has so much. Sorry, just the facts. Like, he has so much that he's throwing at them. I really feel like he's like, okay, we're playing make miss, but on a miss, only if it's number 45 that misses, then everyone's going to be in this kind of zone, but only when it's an even point total. And you're just like, okay, let's do it. So someone who's versatile, as Katie said, somebody who has the basketball smarts, and if they're able to be versatile offensively, specifically where they can score inside and also spread the floor, because Kyle likes to drive the bucket, Fred likes to drive the bucket, Pascal likes to do a little spin move inside. So it has to be somebody who's comfortable outside of the paint as well.
Now, ladies, it's no surprise that the Raptors fan base is very talented when it comes to artistry. Now, we had an artist within our community named Chris Blanchette, and He shared with us some of his work. Guys, if you had to choose one of his great images you see, which one would it be? Katie, I'll start with you.
I mean, this tugs on my heartstrings a little bit, but I got to go with the scarf. Everybody with the scarves on the plane. It takes me to a place, a very vulnerable place. And I feel like art should be very provoking of your emotions. So I think that's something, though, it would hurt a little bit to walk past it every day. I would still love to hang that in my living room.
Yeah, that one's in the Louvre, I thought, though. So I didn't know. I didn't want to print. I wanted the original. So I was going to go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was going to go, instead of like Thomas Crown affairing it, that's a really old movie reference, but I was going to go with the Masai one to just add to my Raptors shrine. He lends stability, he lends credibility. He always just makes sure that everything is going to be okay. At least that's how Raptors fans tend to feel when he's around. And so who wouldn't want that in their home during a panoramic?
Yeah, no, I was going to go with Masai Ujiri too, like just his deep thinking, his deep thoughts. I feel like it's very inspirational when you have to, what would Masai do?
You just stare at him. I think I heard him talk to me.
The answer will come to you.
The answer will come. Thank you so much, ladies. This was a ton of fun with you guys. Hope to have you guys back soon, but we have to go back right now to Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton. Following the Miami Heat game tomorrow, that's Friday, we got Indiana Pacers on a back-to-back game at the Pacers. So, guys, I'm going to ask both of you, Sherm, kick us off. What challenges or disadvantages do you see presented in this new season structure?
Well, I think there's positives and negatives. Obviously, you get a chance to see a team that you just saw, especially in the case like the Raptors, who lost to the Miami Heat last night. Well, they get a day to prepare, and they're back at it to kind of avenge that loss or really get quicker retribution than we'd see in a regular season. It gives you that kind of playoff situation for the coaching staff to be able to really tactically lock in on a team for a couple games in a 3-day period. And I think that's really good for coaches. I mean, you don't have to fit 2 other teams in there before you go scout the team that you just played. And that preparation model can really bode well for the playoffs. The tough side of it, obviously, is, when you're talking about playing a team twice in 2 days, this league has been used to traveling all over the place and seeing these different teams and coming back to teams and seeing them later on. And sometimes the team you played twice this week might be very different in March and April. And you might be getting a team that's not really who they are. And then you see them later and all of a sudden it's all done. And so I just think that there are benefits and drawbacks, but you got to deal with the hand that's in front of you, and the Raptors have to deal with it.
Now, Jones, we have 45 seconds. What do you think?
Same kind of thing as Sherman. It really does create a playoff feel, especially if you're the Raptors and you're right in that game and it comes down to the fourth quarter and you let it get away. You want that team back right away. The good thing about the NBA is the games come quickly, and this part of it does have a playoff feel. You're looking at the same team as you had just before. So in terms of your adjustments, all the video is relevant. All the personnel decisions are very relevant. So I like it. I think it makes it difficult because it's tough to beat somebody. It's like baseball. You often have a split situation. Hopefully that happens for the Raptors.
Thanks for watching the Raptors today, guys. Thank you for watching our latest episode. Make sure you subscribe to all the Toronto Raptors social channels so that you don't miss a thing.